Glad you like it, Wolfie. I'll let you, it's a 4K wallpaper, so if you want to add anything to it text-wise, put your name on it or anything like that, you can do. Ah, god damn it. It's fun educating people in role-playing on WoW. I haven't RP'd in so long. You're going to open? Thank you. Xanlock, is there any particular weapon that you want? And what belt do you want and cloak? Okay. I don't know how well that's going to import into Blender. There's a lot of spell effects on it, but we'll have a go. Now it's just a case of getting the cloak off. You think the belt goes okay with it? Okay. Right, let's see. Okay, so this is the how to export it from WoW model viewer into Blender now. So we go to the file, export model, you get it in the pose that you want it in, and click OBJ. Make a new folder for Xanlock. Export successfully done, so we can close while model viewing out. And if we make sure we save this and we open the default again, so I can show you the tutorial from the beginning basically. Okay, so default Blender opens up on this. I'll just show you how that gets exported as well. If we go into, as you can see, it's exported all the textures for us and the actual model itself. I think this is actually gonna come through really well if we can get that working. So we'll have a look at that in a minute. Okay, so we right click on the default cube and press X to delete. We're going to delete the lamp as well. We're going to keep the default camera, but we'll position it in a minute. If you press Shift S and cursor to center, and we're going to file, import. Oh, no, we're not going to do that yet. We're going to change the Blender render engine to the Cycles render engine. And we're going to set up everything in here. We're going to set our samples to 20 for just for now. And our performance, because I'm rendering on the CPU, I'm going on the GPU even, I want to change this to 254 and 254 for that one. If you were rendering on the CPU, you would change that to 16 on both of them. Okay, so we're on Cycles. I go to the world, use nodes. We're going to drag it over to the dark blue, but then we're going to make it as close to black as we can without actually being black. We're going to go to File, Import, Wavefront.obj, and we're going to go and find where we've just saved that. And you're going to import the OBJ file. Okay. As you can see, if we go into material mode now, it's all just white. So what we need to do is start layering up our materials onto that. Now, there is a quicker way of doing it, and that is via a script. However, I've just updated my Blender, so I haven't actually got that script anymore. Kind of sad, because you basically pressed the one button and it did it. Anyway, what we're going to do as we go along, we're going to apply the material to each section of mesh, and then we'll hide that section of mesh just to make sure that, you know, we can get access to everything else. So, start off from top to bottom. If we select the materials, we're going to use nodes, and on the color section there's a little button here to the side. We're going to click on that, go to image texture, and then rather than clicking open, because the materials have already been imported when we did the object, we just need to find, so this is hair, and that's that one done. And then press H on your keyboard to get rid of it, just so we can access everything else. Right clicking, and we're just gonna quickly go through everything again. That would be part of the body. Hide that. Get our eyelashes. Now, if you accidentally, I did that on purpose, if you accidentally do the wrong one, you'll see this horrible texturing, which kind of looks like her teeth are coming out the side of her chest. Just make sure you find the right piece. So this is helmet and robe. Hide it and continue. So a lot of pieces are the body. It's just kind of trial and error, trying to figure out which one it is. So have a look through the actual textures that have been imported, and if it doesn't look right, then it's likely it's not the right one. Obviously not that. Is that the right one? I know it might not look right because we've not got the it must be. If it's not, we'll fix it in a minute. Again, this will be shoulder. Hide that. Oh, we forgot our ears. We have some floating ears. That'll be part of the body. Hide that. Ooh. That's material mode. Got some good tunes right now. Now usually the belt buckle itself is part of its own texture, but not always. So you need to check between, yeah, so the belt itself is different to the actual belt buckle. The belt is on body, whereas the actual buckle is on under the belt buckle, so you just be aware of that. Isn't it weird pulling these models apart? Because this is how Blizzard actually build these things. It's hard to believe. Okay, my favourite part is always the stave or the weapon. Although this is going to be difficult to get the right piece. I think it's... yeah, it's not the Nexus data curtain, it is the DSAT. See, I can't tell whether that would be DSAT. This is the Nexus. Okay, so press Alt H to bring it all back. That looks right. Okay, so now we're going to apply everything up to all the transparency now. So we're gonna go to our node editor. Didn't mean to do that. We're gonna add with Shift A. We're gonna add a mix shader. I'm gonna put the diffuser into the bottom of the shader. We're gonna add a transparent shader. I'll go into the top shader input. We're gonna duplicate the image texture. And we're gonna drop the alpha into the factor of the mix shader. Now, we can add something a little later on if this doesn't look right when we render it. But right now, we're just gonna leave it at that. I'm just gonna copy and paste this into all the new ones. In fact, we could probably do it with that. Don't actually have to add the extra. Color into the color, alpha into the factor of the mix shader. I'm gonna hide that because there's a lot of layers here that share the same material, and if we hide them, the quicker we'll get through them, because we'll be able to see where they are. Not for everything, only the ones that need transparency. So the ones that have got an obvious black background that shouldn't be there, that's the ones that you need to do this for. Okay, I think we've got all of them now. We may need to come back, so if we press Alt and H, that'll bring everything back. It'll look silly now because we've basically everything that's white now will be transparent, but we may have overdone it slightly on some of them. So we'll have a look, see how they turn out when we render it now. I'm just going to do a quick preview render. So if we press 0 on the numpad and it'll bring us into the camera view, press N on the keyboard and go to lock camera to view. That'll make us pull the camera around whenever we move. We just position it into place with the mouse wheel to zoom in, and if we press shift and just press the mouse wheel in it'll pan, and if you press shift, it'll dolly. So we just need to find a pretty nice pose, which I like that one. Unlock the camera so we can be able to move around again without moving the camera. Now if we were to render that now, it'll just be a silhouette because we've got no lights. So the next thing is to add lights. So what we need to do is press Shift S and click cursor to center. So that positions the 3D cursor back in the center, and we can add with Shift A, press add mesh plane, and press 7 on the keyboard or the num key pad, and then 5, and that puts us into orthographic view. We're going to grab the green anchor, and we're going to move this behind the camera. And we're going to go down here to our pivot point, and we're going to change it to 3D cursor. Press R on the keyboard, and then hold Control, the left control button down, and it'll move it in 5-degree increments when we move. And we're going to move it to the left by 45 degrees. And you can look in the bottom left hand corner just above the timeline. It says ROT 45, so that's telling us what rotation we're actually at the moment. Left click to accept that, and we're going to press Shift D, duplicate, left click to just to take the selection off, and we're going to press R again and Control. Bearing in mind you press it one after another, you don't have to hold them together, and then we're going to rotate it minus 90 degrees in the opposite direction. This is basically setting up a 3-point lighting system. So we're going to select both of them and press G on the keyboard and Z, and then just pull it up so it raises them both up a little bit. Right click on this one and position yourself between the character and the actual plane, and put your mouse just underneath this point here and press R twice. But no, wait, before we do that, change the pivot point down here back to median point, double press R, and then just pull down a little bit so we've got a nice angle on this. I'll press S to scale it and make it a little bit bigger, and likewise on this one, position yourself between the camera, between the player or the model and yourself. Double press R and then just pull it down so it rotates, scale it up a little bit. Okay, so we're going to make these into lights now, so right click on one of them and click the materials panel and click new. I'm going to call this lights, and we're going to change it from a diffuse to an emission, give it a strength of 25. Right click this one, and we're going to find the lights material, but we're going to click the plus button in this box so it creates another instance of it, and we're going to tone this one down to probably about 18. Okay, now we're going to quickly add a lamp. So Shift A, lamp, area lamp. Press 7 on your numpad, and then what we're going to do is move this probably about 4 grid references back. Press 3 on your num keypad and pull it up to about 1.5. Press R and just point it at your model, and if you press 7, just make sure it's in line. And what we're going to do, we're going to change this color to blue and the strength to 5000. It might be a bit intense, that, so when we do a quick render preview, we'll just check to make sure it's just catching the outside. Something doesn't seem right about that. That weapon. Okay, so now we're just going to set the environment up and add a particle system. So we're going to add, so we're going to do Shift S, cursor to center, Shift A, mesh, UV sphere. And we're going to give this a new material. And we're just going to call this orbs. And this is going to have an emission and a strength of 3. Now, what we can do, and what I like to do, is to find a dominant color on the textures. And click on the eyedropper tool and just set the color to match that. Now what we need to do is move this bad boy off the screen. Just move it up so it's not in the way of the camera. Okay, and then we're going to Shift A, add mesh UV sphere. And we're going to put Shift and scale it up so it's around the camera and around the lights that we made. Doesn't matter where this is, so long as it's outside the sphere. Press 0 on the num keypad to go into the camera view, and then if you press 5, it'll put you into perspective mode, and you'll be able to zoom through here and still be able to move around in here. Okay, so right click this sphere that we just made, and we're gonna rename it in the options palette. We're gonna call this environment. Okay, we're gonna give this a particle system. So this is the particle system over here. Click new. We're gonna give this 10,000 particles. From the emit from, we're going to do the volume. Okay, and in the render settings, we're going to uncheck emitter. That's very important. If we were to render it now, we just get a huge white background, which is not what we want. We uncheck emitter, and it goes back to giving us that nice blue background that we had earlier. And in changing it from halo to object, then what you need to find is the sphere that we made before, which is called sphere, and random size 0.9 and size 0.09 I find works quite nicely. Oh, I knocked off the actual. Actually, it's probably a bit too big. Let's just find somewhere that's not overpowering. Okay, and because we've basically made the particles into these orbs, what we need to do now is cursor to selected, doesn't matter, it's going to stay in the center. Shift A to add a empty cube. I'm going to move this around and scale it down. And we want it so the center is just on the face. We scale it along the x-axis. We can catch majority of our stave as well, so it's not all blurred. And if we right click on the camera, go to the camera settings, focus, and click on empty, give it a little bit of size, and click render. We'll just do a quick render preview. I want to try and get it where there's not something in blinding you. You can actually move the f-stop down. Let's change the depth of field so you get some that's blurry and some that's not. And then if we go back to the render settings and turn our sampling up to 800, render that. Okay, then we go to our compositor. Check new use nodes and backdrop, and Shift A, add output viewer. Just drop that in there so we can see what's going on. I'm gonna add a glare node. Fog glow high. It just gives us a little bit more kick in those orbs. Just Shift E on the render layer. Shift A, and we're going to add a defocus node. And then add a, if we search for a mix, and no, not the one on color rack. Color RGB curves. Add that between the defocus and the mix node. We're just gonna darken it ever so slightly. Okay, and come back out to the default. And we're going to bump up the settings. Let's set it to, let's do another 4K. Okay, it's render time. Actually, before we start rendering, let's save it. And now render. Okay, here we go. It's just going to take a minute or two just to render all this because it's a 4K wallpaper. I don't like how much noise is there. So, what's everybody been up to today? Anything or nothing? You're welcome. I mean, if you, I always say, and Sign Up says a similar thing. If you can imagine it, you can do it. The hard part is having the imagination to do something. I don't think I'm going to be so keen on the way the end of this staff's come out. Something tells me something's not right. Oh god, that's just one tome. I can remember. The stream's probably gonna lag a little bit at the minute because of the render. What bronze beard? I'm able to help. Hang on, let's have a look. Can I help? Hello. Just gonna sit and wait for this to finish. I'm just gonna go grab a drink while that's finishing rendering.